As I stared at my phone, disappointment settled heavily in my chest. My mother's text was brief, almost dismissive. "Catherine, everyone's staying home due to the ice storm. Christmas dinner is cancelled. Stay safe." I understood, of course. Winters in Nashville could be unpredictable, and ice storms made travel dangerous. What I didn't know then was that this simple message would unravel years of deception and change my life forever. My name is Catherine. I'm 32, an accountant, the quiet, responsible one in the family. At least, that's what I'd always told myself. While my younger sister, Anna, basked in the warmth of our parents' unwavering affection, I played the role of the dutiful daughter, the one who worked hard, the one who helped, the one who was overlooked. That Christmas morning, I made the best of a quiet holiday alone. A steaming cup of hot chocolate in hand, I curled up on the couch, letting the glow of holiday movies fill the silence. I reminded myself that solitude was peaceful, that it was okay. But the loneliness lingered, gnawing at the edges of my thoughts. Around 3 in the afternoon, absent-mindedly scrolling through Instagram, my heart suddenly stopped. There it was, a fresh post from my cousin. "Perfect family Christmas at Anna's. So blessed to have everyone together." My eyes locked onto the photo. My entire family, my parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, even my grandmother, gathered around Anna's elegantly decorated dining table. The room was warm and bright, filled with laughter and the familiar comfort of shared traditions. And yet, I wasn't there. Through the windows in the background, the sky was crisp and clear. No ice storm. No treacherous roads. Nothing to justify the lie I had been fed. My hands trembled as I scrolled through more pictures. My father carving the turkey, my mother arranging her signature Christmas cookies, my little nieces and nephews unwrapping presents with uncontained joy. They hadn't cancelled Christmas. They had simply cancelled me. A wave of nausea rolled over me as the truth sank in. How many times had this happened before? How many cancelled events had actually taken place without me? Had they been orchestrating my absence for years, carefully omitting me from plans while maintaining the illusion of inclusion? The next morning, my phone rang. My mother's name flashed on the screen. I hesitated before answering. "Hi, honey. Hope you had a nice, quiet Christmas. We missed you." Her words, casual and airy, felt like a slap. My fingers curled into a fist, nails biting into my palm. I took a breath. "Really?" My voice was steady, though my heart pounded. "Because Nina's social media says otherwise." Silence. I imagined my mother's expression, a flicker of guilt, quickly masked by rehearsed nonchalance. "Oh well," she stammered. "Anna organized it last minute, and, you can be a little quiet at gatherings. It just felt easier this way." Easier. The word landed like a stone in my gut. All those times plans had mysteriously fallen through, all those photos I'd stumbled upon later, those whispered excuses. It was never about the weather or bad timing. It was about me. "How many?" My voice was barely above a whisper. "How many times have you lied to me like this?" Another pause. Then, a sigh. "Catherine, you're being too sensitive." Too sensitive. The lifelong refrain. This is exactly why. Why what? I cut her off, my voice sharp with the weight of years of neglect. Why you exclude me? Why you pretend I don't exist unless you need something? Why Anna is the golden child and I'm treated like a burden? "That's not fair," she protested weakly. "We love you both. It's just, Anna puts in the effort to be part of the family. You're always so busy with work." I let out a bitter laugh. "Busy? You mean the years I spent helping pay your mortgage? The weeks I took off to care for Dad after his surgery? The times I've shown up, only to be ignored?" She had no answer. I had spent my entire life trying to earn a place at their table. I had swallowed my hurt, excused their favoritism, convinced myself that if I just tried harder, they would finally see me, finally love me in the way they so effortlessly loved Anna. But they never would. And for the first time, I was done pretending. My mother's voice hardened, a sharp edge slicing through the last remnants of pretense. "If you're going to be like this, maybe we should take some space. Call me when you're ready to be reasonable." Then, the line went dead. I sat frozen, my phone still pressed to my ear, as 32 years of memories rearranged themselves into something I could finally see clearly. Every dismissal, every forgotten invitation, every excuse, they hadn't been oversights. They hadn't been misunderstandings. They had been deliberate. I wasn't the problem. I never had been. Something inside me snapped. I had spent my entire life being the dutiful daughter, the afterthought at family gatherings, the one whose efforts were ignored while my sister basked in endless praise. I had swallowed disappointment, rationalized their favoritism, convinced myself that if I just worked harder, cared more, gave more, they would see me, accept me. But they never would. I opened my laptop, my hands trembling, and began typing an email. Not just to my parents, but to every single person who had been at that Christmas dinner. My aunts, my uncles, my cousins. If they wanted to exclude me, fine. But they wouldn't get to rewrite the story. The words poured out like floodwaters breaking through a dam. I've seen the photos from Christmas dinner, the dinner I was told was cancelled due to an ice storm. I want you all to know exactly what you've done. You didn't just exclude me from a family gathering. You coordinated an elaborate lie to make me spend Christmas alone. Before I could second-guess myself, I attached the evidence. My mother's text, her words claiming no one was celebrating, followed by the gleaming, joyful photos of them all together at Anna's house. The proof was undeniable. I hit send. The responses came quickly, each one more infuriating than the last. Aunt Marie insisted they had simply forgotten to update me when plans changed. Uncle Robert accused me of overreacting. My cousin Nina, the one whose Instagram post had exposed the lie, panicked and deleted all her Christmas photos before messaging me that I was causing unnecessary drama. Then came Anna's response, a long, self-righteous email filled with condescension. She accused me of never making an effort at family gatherings and claimed she just wanted one perfect holiday. And then, the cruelest part, she suggested that excluding me had been for my own good since I obviously didn't enjoy family events. But it was my parents' reaction that confirmed everything I had finally begun to understand. Instead of apologizing, they went on the attack. My mother started calling family friends, spinning tales about how I was having a breakdown. My father sent a cold, formal email about respecting family privacy and accused me of airing our dirty laundry. And then Anna, relentless as ever, sent a text dripping with manufactured outrage. You've really done it now. Mom's crying, everyone's upset, and it's all because you couldn't just accept that maybe you're the problem. This is exactly why we didn't want you at Christmas. I stared at the screen, at the words meant to break me, and felt something inside me harden. They had lied to me. They had deliberately shut me out. And now, when faced with the truth, they had twisted it, casting me as the villain for refusing to accept their cruelty in silence. Their escalation only proved what I had begun to suspect. This wasn't about a single Christmas. This wasn't about misunderstandings or oversensitivity. This was about control. About maintaining a family dynamic where I existed as an afterthought, useful only when needed, dismissed when I was inconvenient. When I refused to apologize, they doubled down. My mother began showing up at my workplace unannounced, causing scenes in the lobby. Anna took to social media, posting vague updates about toxic people and choosing peace over family. My father, ever pragmatic, sent another warning. If I didn't fall back in line, he would cut me out of the will. The irony was almost laughable. What they didn't know was that I had already started forming a plan that would show them exactly what happens when you push away the one person who had always been there for you. And then, 1 week after my email, an unexpected message arrived. Rachel, an old family friend who had once managed my parents' finances, reached out. Catherine, I've been seeing what's happening with your family. There's something you need to know. Can we meet? Curiosity and unease churned in my stomach as I agreed. When I arrived at the quiet cafe where we planned to meet, Rachel was already there, clutching a worn manila envelope. Her hands were shaking slightly as she slid it across the table toward me. I've been carrying the guilt of this for years, she murmured. Your father swore me to secrecy, but after seeing how they're treating you now, I can't stay quiet anymore. I opened the envelope, my pulse hammering as I sifted through the papers inside. Bank statements, legal documents, old transaction records dating back over 15 years. I read the numbers once, then again. My breath caught in my throat. It was my inheritance. Nearly $300,000. Money I had never even known existed. "Your grandfather left this for you," Rachel said quietly. "It was meant for your education and future. Your father was the trustee. He was supposed to give you access when you turned 25. I lifted my eyes to hers, my hands trembling. "But he didn't." "No," she confirmed, her face etched with regret. "Instead, he transferred everything to Anna's accounts. He used it to fund her lifestyle, her failed business ventures. That's where the money went." The air felt thick, suffocating. My head spun with the weight of what I was hearing. All those years I had worked extra hours, struggled to pay off student loans, helped them with their mortgage, while they had been sitting on my inheritance, spending it on Anna. Rachel hesitated, then took a deep breath. "There's more." As she spoke, the rest of the truth unraveled. My grandfather had also left properties, meant to be split equally between Anna and me. But my parents had sold them all, using a power of attorney I had unknowingly signed when I was 18. I remembered that moment so clearly now. The way they had presented it as just paperwork for emergencies, assuring me it was nothing to worry about. I had signed away my rights without even realizing it. Sick with betrayal, I flipped through the documents again. Regular transfers labeled as business investments. Money taken from my inheritance to fund Anna's yoga studios, her retreats in Bali, all those adventures they had praised her for while ridiculing my steady, responsible career. I swallowed hard, my voice barely above a whisper. "Why are you telling me this now?" Rachel's gaze was filled with quiet sorrow. "Because I saw your mother's social media posts. They're trying to discredit you before you can discover the truth." "But Catherine, what they've done isn't just wrong. It's illegal." The world around me seemed to tilt. Everything, their escalating lies, the manipulation, the threats, suddenly made perfect, awful sense. They had been embezzling from me for years. They had stolen my future while convincing me I was selfish for wanting anything for myself. I took a slow, measured breath, my fingers tightening around the envelope. "Thank you, Rachel." I slid the papers back inside, my mind already working. "I know exactly what I need to do." This was no longer just about a ruined Christmas. This was about years of betrayal, carefully concealed behind the illusion of family. It was about theft, manipulation, and a deliberate effort to keep me in the dark. But what they hadn't counted on was that I, an accountant with years of experience in forensic auditing, was uniquely qualified to uncover every lie they had buried. With Rachel's documents in hand, I spent the next week meticulously building my case. I traced every unauthorized transfer, every instance of misused power of attorney, every fraudulent document they had signed under my name. The numbers didn't lie. Every trail led back to them, my parents and Anna, weaving a web of deceit under the guise of family loyalty. To make sure I had a solid legal standing, I hired Sarah Chen, a sharp and relentless attorney specializing in estate fraud. She combed through the documents, her expression unreadable as she flipped through the pages. When she finally looked up, her words were simple but powerful. "This is a clear case of financial exploitation. We can file criminal charges if you want to pursue that route." I considered my options carefully. A criminal case would ruin them. Their carefully curated reputation would shatter under the weight of public disgrace. But then again, they had already destroyed our relationship. Still, I decided to give them one last chance to do the right thing. I sent an email requesting a family meeting, phrased carefully to make it sound like I was open to reconciliation. They took the bait without hesitation, likely assuming this was my way of apologizing and returning to my role as the quiet, compliant daughter. We agreed to meet at my apartment the following Saturday. The morning of the meeting, I arranged 3 identical folders on my dining table, one for each of them. Inside, I placed every piece of evidence I had collected, along with a letter from my lawyer outlining their only 2 options: return the remaining funds, sign a written confession, or face criminal charges. When they arrived, they were smug, wearing the expressions of people who thought they had already won. "Catherine," my mother began, her voice dripping with false warmth, "we're so glad you've come to your senses." I cut her off with a calm, deliberate movement, sliding the folders across the table. "Before anyone says another word, I suggest you read these." The color drained from my father's face as he flipped through the pages. Anna's hands trembled as she stared at the neatly organized records detailing her extravagant lifestyle, funded by stolen money. My mother, ever the master of deception, attempted to regain control. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "You're trying to blackmail your own family." I let out a cold, humorless laugh. "Blackmail? No. I'm giving you a choice. Return what's rightfully mine, admit what you did, or let the police handle it. Rachel has already agreed to testify." My father stiffened. "Rachel had no right." "You had no right," I interrupted. "You stole from me for years while watching me struggle. You forged my power of attorney to sell property that was rightfully mine. You funneled my inheritance into Anna's accounts while I worked myself into exhaustion to pay for a degree that should have been covered." Anna, as predictable as ever, crumbled into tears. "I didn't know," she sobbed. "They told me the money was from their savings. I didn't even blink." "Don't lie. The transfers went directly to your accounts. You knew exactly what you were doing." My mother made a last, desperate attempt to guilt me. "Think about what this will do to the family. What will people say?" I met her gaze, steady and unwavering. "You should have thought about that before stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from your own daughter." Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. I could see the realization settling in, the slow unraveling of their confidence as they understood, finally, that I wasn't bluffing. "You have 48 hours to decide," I said simply. "Either sign the confession and arrange the transfers, or I go to the police." They left in a panic, my father practically dragging my hysterical mother and sister out the door. Within hours, the family group chat exploded. Messages poured in from aunts, uncles, and cousins, all taking their side, calling me cruel, selfish, ungrateful. But I remained calm. I had truth on my side. "The ball's in their court now," I told Sarah over the phone that evening. "But something tells me they won't make the right choice." I was right. The 48-hour deadline came and went. Instead of accepting responsibility, they chose to cover their tracks. They closed accounts, shredded documents, and even attempted to pressure Rachel into retracting her statement. What they didn't know was that I had already submitted everything to the authorities. The morning after the deadline passed, I formally filed charges. By the afternoon, the police were at their doors with search warrants. From my office window, I watched as the story unfolded. My father was escorted out of his workplace in handcuffs. Anna's yoga studio, the so-called empire she had built on stolen money, was seized as an asset. My mother, who had spent years crafting a perfect socialite image, was arrested in the middle of a charity committee meeting. The family group chat was silent. The same relatives who had rushed to defend them were suddenly nowhere to be found as the evidence became public record. The local news ran the story, detailing the downfall of a once-respected family, exposing every calculated lie. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "You did the right thing. Your grandfather would be proud." And I knew she was right. This had never been about revenge. It was about justice. As I watched the last remnants of their deception crumble, I felt no satisfaction, no triumph. Only relief. The truth was finally out, and I was finally free. 1 year later, I sat in my new home in Denver, watching snow drift past the window. The court case had long since concluded. My parents had taken plea deals, agreeing to pay restitution. Anna had lost everything, her business, her reputation, and had finally been forced to get a real job. The perfect family image they had worked so hard to maintain was gone forever. Most of the relatives who had blindly defended them had cut me off. But to my surprise, I didn't miss them. Instead, I had built something better, a real support system, friends who valued honesty over appearances, colleagues who respected my work ethic, even a few distant cousins who reached out with quiet apologies for the past. Last week, Rachel came to visit. Over coffee, she handed me an old photo album she had found while cleaning out her office. Inside were pictures of my grandfather and me, moments I had almost forgotten. In one, he was teaching me how to fish, both of us laughing at something lost to time. "He always said you were the strong one," Rachel murmured. "He knew they favored Anna, but he believed you would overcome it." I traced the edges of the photograph, remembering his kind smile. He had tried to protect my future, to give me a chance at something better. And though it had taken years, his final gift had given me something even more valuable than money: the courage to stand up for myself. The freedom to build a life on my own terms. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting free.